Hello everybody, and welcome to How to Play Monster Train. It's your boy Red, lover of multiple styles of card games and other fantastic ones out there. Huge shout out to Mr. Unclean Ramen for picking me up a copy of this game. And let me tell you, this has been a fantastic experience from start to finish. If you've never heard of Monster Train, you definitely should check it out. It is a roguelike deck building card game, similar in the vein of the more famous Slays the Spire. But this game takes it up a notch, and quite literally. So, what is Monster Train? So, as I said before, it's a deck building game, and let's go ahead and kind of give you a sort of a tour as to what we're dealing with here. Now, similar to roguelike games, you are given choices of cards as you sort of go up and down the extravagant adventure, and I'll be showing that in just a second here. There are 5 different factions that you can get cards from, not all at once. When you start your runs, you'll be picking between 2 factions to sort of mix and match the cards that you can have when you progress through the story. So, they are the Hellhorn, which are sort of your beat-down style running, and they're pretty straightforward. They have rage, and I can go ahead and show you what the deck looks like. Here's their hero card. You always start with sort of their champion. Every deck has one. And primarily, they focus on building rage and armor. They also have a lot of fantastic other units, typically used, imps used to help take out things, smaller, weakened enemies. So that's kind of where they come into play and such. Next up would be the Awoken. This is a defensive unit. Their champion can be built a plethora of different ways. As you progress through the stages, they typically are the defensive unit with some really good ones up if you can sort of protect them, keep them in the back line, protected. They'll be able to do some good damage and get you through. They have a lot of regen as well, sort of in the form of Restore, Restoration Detonation, and Glimmer, to name just a few. Now, next up, we've got the Stygian Guard. These guys are very interesting because they're very focused on magic, and lots of it in the form of debuffs called Frostbite, sort of a damage over time, as well as spell power increasing and spell sort of magic power increase and spell decreasing, spell weaknesses to be exact, which can help you weaken enemies that you're fighting to take more damage from their synergetic spells as they go along. So if you like the magic type style stuff, think about adding these guys into your deck. Also, next up, we've got the Umbra. These guys are pretty interesting looking, very interesting design. They're based around consumption, where you can consume the tiny morsels that do different buffs to help you through. They also help with basically making it so that you can increase the capacity of a floor with their abilities and such. So it gets very interesting when you start taking buffs into account. The morsels are not limited to just these faction or to this faction eating them. Morsels, anybody can sort of and it's kind of morbid to say, but any sort of faction can partake in devouring morsels to gain the buff that is there. So it's not limited to just these guys. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorites, we have the Melting Remnant. These guys, if you think of a gigantic candle, that's basically how they are. They have a mechanic called burnout, which after X amount of time, they will just wither away and sort of die, but their deck helps enhance their attack as well as keeping them on the field. You can also have certain cards, for example, that will remove the burnout and debuff effects on creatures, so it adds to some very unique styles of play as you get them along the lines. Other friendly cards to help keeping the burnout going as they take damage and such like that, also applying stealth. So they are a very, very fun group to play as well, and a lot of trickery can be done with them depending on the different affixes for the day and such. So those are the 5 factions. Now, I want to cover a couple of things here that I know you might be asking. So let's go ahead and jump into just a quick run here. So when you first start, you'll be prompted to pick between 2 factions here. And so you can sort of mix and match. You'll only be able to start off with the Hellhorn and the Awoken, as those are the 2 that are sort of unlocked for you at this time. And so as you go up in levels, you'll be able to unlock different Covenant ranks, which increases the difficulty of what you're doing. So just for the sake, we'll jump right into this one. And so you'll see sort of the story of what's going on. We will be given what the final boss will be able to do to us. So he'll be removing half of our buffs and debuff staff effects. So you kind of begin to plan around that idea of what's going to be happening. Also, the random starting cards we'll be putting into a deck. We get 2 copies of Ascent, 2 copies of Sharpen, and, well, 1 Inferno. So we'll go ahead and say okay. And this is sort of how the stages are laid out. We have different areas that we move on to. This divide right here tells you that if you pick the right side, you will be greeted with the Merchant of Steel along with a Hellhorn banner to gain a Hellhorn unit. Similarly, on this side, you'll be given some Forgotten Boons as well as the Merchant of Magic. I believe they're all related, the family members that are in there. And as you go down, you can see that you'll be fighting bosses. Later on, there are concealed caverns as well as hordes for trinkets and such. So it's really up to you, kind of how you want to pursue it. Once you start, you'll be asked to sort of pick how your champion wants to be built. So let's go over that real quick. This is the cost right here. So he's a 0 cost card, but he takes up 2 capacity slots. That's what those yellow those yellow dots are right here. Now, his ability is Slay. After he does a killing blow, he'll gain a 10 attack to his already 25. Or we could go down this way, where he starts, basically he comes in with armor, and he has multi-strike 1. So it's really kind of up to you how you want to go about that. You know, so we have more of a, as we go along, we have a little bit more of a defensive deck because we're using, you know, we've got the Awoken with us. So that could be something you might want to take into consideration as you go along. So just for fun, we'll go ahead and pick up the armor plus multi-strike 1, and then you get to pick an artifact that you hope to work with. So magic power is going to be very interesting, because it's going to sort of boost up all our other abilities that we have, or the magical abilities for that matter, and or we could do, you know, the Winged Indulgence, which enemies get a -1 to attack. So this is the fun part of the game, sort of giving you the choice of how you wish to pursue, because your run could be incredibly different than my run per se. So then you start, and we go down to the track. Now we'll sort of get into the nitty-gritty of things. When you mouse over the enemies on this level, it will tell you exactly on the right there what they'll be doing, what they'll have, and sort of the outcome of everything. And that's what's great about this game, is they give you all the information for the most part of what you need. Also, there's different trials that you can do to get more points, as well as, you know, you'll get a unit right here if you allow this to happen. So you have to just turn it on, make sure it's on the on position, and then click fight. And then we'll sort of dive right into the fight, and you can get an idea of what's going on. So it, reinforces what's going on. By the way, guys, listen to this music. If there's one thing about this game that is incredibly top-notch, besides its presentation, is the music. I'm telling you right now, you are going to love this soundtrack. There is just an insane amount of beautiful music in this game. It really pulls you in. So, as you can see, we start with just 3 ember, and then we've got our deck, our draw pile, which we can kind of look and see what's going on in there. We've got our discard pile over here. And so we start off, and these are the different floors that you'll be protecting. And of course your Pyre, the last shard of the Pyre. Now your Pyre can attack as well. It'll do 20 damage, but it has only 80 HP. Now, mind you, when your Pyre takes damage, your score also takes a hit. So you're trying to make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can to make sure that nothing hits the Pyre. So we've got a kind of a fun setting right here. We can summon our guy in, and then put in somebody else here with them just for fun. And this will only do 2 damage, unfortunately, because of the armor that they've got going on right now. He's the only one that's going to be attacking, as he has an attack of 0. So just for fun, we'll go ahead and put spikes on him, and then we will end our turn. The fight will play out. Now, mind you, I apologize, I have this incredibly fast, so we'll turn it down for you. So as you can see, they did their damage and they moved up a floor, and they'll be heading up to the next floor. The little guy right here, called the Collector, he brings gold. Now, if we can kill him, we will get 50 gold from him. So it's always good to pick that, to pick it up. So if you've got the torch, go ahead and use it on him. Easy 50 gold. He will pop up on all stages except for boss stages, if I'm not mistaken. So right here, as I said before, the game gives you a lot of information. So as you can see in this orange number right here, we'll be taking 4 damage. They'll be taking 29, and he'll be taking -4 due to the spikes that we have going on. So very fun. This 4 will just be from the armor, so we technically don't need to heal. But we're in a situation now where we've got these guys sort of making their way up. So we'll go ahead and put some more guys here to try to slow it down just a little bit as best we can. We unfortunately have to go through his armor still. So that will play out, and we'll get a brief moment of respite. So this is sort of your, okay, I've got a minute here. I got to figure out what's going on. What can I do to sort of lessen the blow? Now, in this situation right here, it's okay if this guy goes up to this floor because he has 0 attack, so he won't do any damage. But this guy right here, he's definitely going to do some damage. So we have to try to figure out a way to get the damage done to him. So they don't, make it up there. Now, along with these guys, we also have this going on. So we've got some choices here. We can take the small amount of damage as they're already making up there. So we'll take 3 damage, and we can deal with these guys. Or we can easily just use an Inferno and wipe them out completely. It takes up all of our Ember, unfortunately, but they won't make it up. Now, these guys are fighting it out right here. Damage is being done, and they're moving up a floor. And here comes the boss. So, here, the boss says endless. What that means is this white outline means that we are going to stay battling in here until our units die or he dies. So, as you can see, we're only going to be doing 38 damage, and he's going to be wiping out all of us as it stands. So, unfortunately, we don't have much going on, but we can kind of feed some regens here into them, see if it makes any difference at the end of the day. Fortunately, it's not, and these guys are going to make it up to the next floor. I don't have enough damage nor any units to have summoned in that area, so it's kind of a washout situation, unfortunately. So we're going to lose some people, but that's how these battles sort of play out from time to time. But But yeah, you get the exhilarating action that's happening. It's just sort of a back and forth, and then they'll go up there and they'll hit your Pyre, and then your Pyre will do 20 damage and wipe them out. The floor then will now be frozen. We cannot do anything down here on this floor, so it's imperative to know that as time goes on, you are limited on the amount of space and things that you have. So right now we've got this weight. It's going to take 3 damage if we keep it, so we're going to go ahead and try to get rid of him in the back here at least. And then unfortunately right now this is all that we have going on, so we're going to lose this guy. We have no way to heal him, and we're just going to go ahead and put this guy up here and end our turn. Our Pyre is going to take 3 damage unfortunately, and then they're just going to go back and forth with each other, dealing as much damage as they can. Now this one of the main things that you have to know about the game is as your units die, they unfortunately will not be able to come back. They are considered consumed, and they will not be able to rejoin the fight. So right now, as you can see, we only have what's going on, but we have something to sort of help us right here. Just in the nick of time, we end up with Inferno. Spells will be brought back into play unless they have a consume price attached to them. So we'll take the damage, we'll lose the unit, but we end up winning. Now, here's the score. The battle won. 7 damage taken, so minus 14%. 1 turn boss rush. That means that there was only 1 more turn left. You can get that a little bit higher with 3 and whatnot. So the spoils, you get them down at the end, and you get to pick some cards again, adding some more flavor to the deck and hopefully helping you. So this consume right here, this is what I was talking about earlier. If your card says consume, that means that it will only be played once per battle. So it's imperative that you at least keep track of, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna use this now, or do you want to use it later? It's entirely up to you. And lastly, you get to pick some interesting units. Please pay attention to their, you know, their costs in terms of the amount of capacity that they'll be taking up. So but again, great amount of information that's given, always something to keep in mind. And sometimes you may not want to take any cards, and you might just want to pass. You can always skip and take 10 gold and get on with your life. So pretty fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and let's pick up the shell just for that, and then I'm going to show you guys the last bit of the game right here, which is the choice collection. So as the train moves, it melts the area, the ice that sort of lingers around, and we bring warmth. So now we get to go into the shops, which is one of the things that I'm excited to cover. What I would do too is I would sort of pick a unit first before going into the shop, because you never know what you're going to find in the shop to sort of help you out. So this guy has a cost of 4. Unfortunately, we don't have 4 embers yet to summon him, but it's a great unit. But we'll pick up the Horn Warrior, and then now we're going to go to the Merchant of Steel. So the Merchant of Steel are run by a bunch of cat folks, and here is where you take your hard-earned cash money and try to get some of the stuff to help your units. If we are on the magical side, it would affect magic cards, but because we're on this side, it's going to only be doing with our units. So here are some cool options. You can, for 50 gold, you can remove some cards out of your deck. As we know, sometimes smaller decks tend to play a lot better in certain situations. You can also re-roll this section right here. So if none of this seemed interesting to you, you could spend 50 gold and re-roll. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and buy the Strength Stone. Now, we can upgrade our units in these tiny little diamond-shaped corners right here. By clicking on this, we'll give him 10 extra, and then we've got 1 more slot open. So you can upgrade, and we'll give him some more HP. So instead of 4, he's got 29. So now we've got also a large stone if we really want to make things interesting. A large stone adds some more capacity to a unit, but it also increases a lot of their attributes as well. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And so we'll go ahead and leave. And then, of course, you go back into the battle and then engage and do the best that you can with what you've got. So take some time to experiment with your cards, with the decks, the combination between factions, because that's, to me personally speaking, one of the best parts of the game. So we're gonna go ahead and exit here because I want to touch base on a couple more things. So let me go ahead and we will go back to the main menu. Now, one of the coolest things that this game does when it came right out is the multiplayer feature. There are 3 options here. There are custom challenges, which people can sort of make and share. There's the daily challenge, which comes with different affixes and tests your ability to get through these challenges with the presets that they have, similar to other games that are out there. Then there's also Hell Rush, which can be a lot of fun. In Hell Rush, you matchmake against other players and you get put into sort of a group with everything similar to as if you were playing on your own, except everything is sort of given. It's already pre-selected for you. So here we'll be playing, it looks to be the Awoken mixed with the Melting Remnants. So this should be a very fun deck to play with. It's myself and some other people lined up ready to roll. We've got 16 seconds before it starts, and we'll just be going down, and you're going to try your best to see how far you can get, how many points you can maintain, and make it all the way down. So kind of tells you that, cues you up, and you just start. So you pick something that's going to work, grant 3 stacks of burnout each time it's applied, or 25% chance to do 5 damage when an enemy enters. So these are both fantastic, and it's, again, personal choices. And then, of course, you pick how you want to put your champion, and then everybody starts. And that's what's really good about this, is you can kind of see where everybody's sort of going, and when it comes to the split, it's very interesting to see what places and choices that people go with. That's the best part, to me personally speaking, one of the best parts of said game. So, and we're going to go ahead and just speed this up just for the sake of the video, just because I'm just kind of showing this off. So we'll do, some damage here, and we'll put our guys here to set up to be good to go. And we'll just run through. They'll do the things. We'll get a couple moments here to think about what's going on in our lives. We're going to go ahead and let's get some rejuve going. We'll end our turn right there. This is the final wave. They will be dead, and we technically don't have to really do anything here. And that's it. So we'll end our turn. And of course, any time remaining extra gives you the bonus. So there you go. We have a 3-turn trial bonus total, 1800. All right, very good. We get to pick some different stuff. We'll go ahead and grab some more glimmer. Let's just do the stealth. And we get a special unit, which will definitely help us out. Harvest is very good. When a unit die, even if it's a friendly, that's pretty awesome. So there's a lot of different ways we can go here, so we'll just grab that and we'll end our turn there. So yeah, and that's typically the multiplayer aspect. You just keep going. So here's where you can kind of see somewhere what folks want to do. I highly recommend always going for units first, because it's going to help you out in the long run at the end of the day, So I won't continue on. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. I'm going to go ahead and abandon the run, say yes, which is totally fine. And then lastly, I will go over the daily challenge. So the daily challenge is fantastic because it tells you, like I said, there are different affixes that can happen that really encourages different deck building techniques. And I highly encourage you to try it out and test it out, see what can work for you. One thing to make note, your first run of the day will be recorded. So you can go back and run it multiple times after, but your first score is your main score. So just remember that as you do that. So we have the Melting Remnant and the Stygian Guard. Here are our affixes. So we get double money, brawl, friendly and enemy units enter with +5 attack, +10 HP, and our Pyre also gets +10 HP. And then lastly, there's heavy. Add 5 dead weights to your starting deck. So that's sort of the, encumbrance of things. Now, what's really cool is that they have the leaderboard of the global and your friends. If anybody that plays, you could check on their score. Now, what I highly encourage you to do too is after your initial run, and maybe you want to see why some of these guys are so awesome at what they do, this little magnifying glass will be available for you to click, and it will give you an idea of sort of how their decks were built, what sort of power-ups they used on different, characters, etc., and things like that. Unfortunately, I have not done my run today, and I'm not able to show you that, but like I said, I highly encourage you, take a look at it, jump right in, and sort of digest and dissect what people are doing. Speaking of what people are doing, please make sure to join the Discord channel. It is one of the best places for resources on how to play, sharing some of your own creative work, and just getting to know the community all around together. I'll bet I have been very shy when I'm on there. I mostly just read and sort of ponder ideas as time has gone on, but dive in, take a look, meet some people, go from there. So that's the gist of Monster Train, guys. I highly recommend, if you love card games and you're a fan of Slay the Spire, this is a must-have. The game came out and it's just amazing. I thoroughly, if I were to rate it, I give it 11 out of 10. It's just that good, and it does exactly what you want from a game that comes out at a time where other games have established themselves, and it comes out and it brings a lot of new elements, and it also has a ton of content, and the developers are going to be supporting this game for a while. You can definitely tell they care about their community, and I for one am super excited to just be a part of it and having a good time enjoying this game. Like I said, highly recommend it. So I appreciate you watching my very small video today, and if you have any questions, comments, shoot me messages down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate your time. And remember, from here to there, be righteous everywhere. Have yourselves a wonderful night, and I'll check in the next video. Take care.